You know how when you be on Zoom and you got a good shirt on, but you got on some sweatpants or some pajama pants? That's 100% me right now. Hello, my amazing people, and welcome back to my channel. If you're back, if you are new, welcome to my channel. I'm Shayna, and I have a current missing persons case for you all today. My usual disclaimer, I am not to be referred to as an official news source. This is all information that I have found online that I've compiled into a video for educational and entertainment purposes. Thank you so much for joining me today. The case that I'm actually bringing to you is a very well-known case. It is involving the disappearance of Maya Millette, and a lot of people are invested in this story. I made a point to not talk about it too soon. For those of you who are familiar, you will know that this has been ongoing since January. So she has been missing for 3 months at this point. A lot of people have already covered it on their channels, but I wanted to wait and kind of see what developments came to be in this case, and I'm glad that I did because there's a lot to unpack. So I will start by giving you a brief synopsis, and then I will jump into some things I have some questions about, share my opinion. I encourage everyone to also give me your opinion down in the comment section below. Thanks so much for joining me today, and let's get started. Maya Millette is a 39-year-old woman who is married to a man named Larry Millette. They've been married for about 21 years at the time of her disappearance, which again happened in January, about 3 months ago. And they live in the Chula Vista area of California. They have 3 children together, and they have been married, for a really long time, like I said, experiencing some marital issues along the way. Most of their marriage was pretty good, but then towards the end, especially the year of 2020 and really leading up to her disappearance, they were experiencing some real issues. Maya had considered divorce, and right before her disappearance, she actually started looking into a divorce lawyer. So while they were married for a really long time, their situation was not ideal. They were living inside the same home, but in a roommate style type of situation where Larry might sleep on the couch while Maya was in the bedroom, or vice versa. They would see each other in passing. They would spend time together for their children's sake, but it wasn't a really happy, copacetic, let's all be one, kumbaya type of family situation. The last known actual sighting of Maya was January 7th, which she was apparently seen by Larry. On this day, they apparently got into this big argument, were going at it, and Maya just was not happy with the situation. So she went and barricaded herself in the bedroom, didn't want to be bothered. So the last known sighting of Maya was January 7th, and the last communication that she had with her family was on January 7th. January 8th, Larry alleges that he didn't see Maya physically, but because they were living in this roommate style type of household, he heard her. So he heard her downstairs making food for herself, but she didn't come outside of the room to spend time with the children. She was barricaded inside of her room, and then for the night of the 7th leading up to the 8th, and then on the 8th, he heard her cooking dinner for herself in the kitchen, but didn't actually see her. So official date of disappearance has been classified as January 7th. Maya was super tight with all of her family. She communicated with them consistently. She was very active on Facebook and communicated with her friends. She had 5 siblings, as far as I'm aware. I believe it's either 5 or 6 siblings. She was very close to her sister, Mary Chris, and was actually really excited leading up to the day that she went missing, because she was planning her daughter's 11th birthday party. So when her family didn't hear from her on the 8th, they immediately were concerned because this was unlike Maya. So her brother went over to their home to see what was going on, if Maya was okay, and Larry let him into the home and told him, look, Maya's upstairs in the bedroom. She's been up there since last night. We had a really bad argument last night, and she doesn't really want to talk. But the brother still tried, went upstairs, knocked on the door. When Maya hadn't come to the door, and that in combination with the fact that Larry said they had an argument and she just didn't want to be bothered, he was like, look, maybe she's asleep. I'll just leave her be and we'll check back in later. But when the time was passing, more time had passed, and no one had heard from Maya still, her father actually pulls up to the house. He's like, look, something's not right here. This is not like my daughter. So he pulls up to the house. Again, Larry's telling him the same story. We got into an argument on the 7th. Ever since then, she's been MIA. I don't know what's going on. So the father goes up, knocks on the door, and no answer, right? So instead of doing what the brother did and just saying maybe she's asleep, he says, I need to get into that bedroom. So Larry fumbles around, finds the keys for the master bedroom. They get inside, and when they open the door, what do you see? Absolutely nothing. Maya was nowhere to be seen. She was not in the bedroom. And the father at this point is looking at Larry like, how did you not notice that she wasn't in the house all of this time? And Larry's response is, we've kind of been living together, but not as a family per se. So I didn't notice that she wasn't in the house because I was doing my own thing. I thought she was doing her own thing. So at this point, Larry says, okay, well, maybe she went out for a hike. Maybe she went wine tasting. And while this is suspicious because we're in the middle of a pandemic, middle of a panoramic, the chance of her actually being out wine tasting, pretty slim. And her sister says that wherever she would have went wine tasting is closed. So I don't know if there's a specific place that Maya was known to like going wine tasting or what. But based on her sister's opinion, this is extremely unlikely for whatever reason. So at this point, they're like, okay, something is really wrong. She, at this point, is leading up to her daughter's birthday. She hasn't responded to anyone. We're supposed to be taking a big trip as a family. And the social butterfly type of person that she is would not communicate with us this long. So by January 10th, she was officially reported missing. Now, in the very beginning stages of this disappearance, the family, they're just trying to get answers. They're trying to figure out what could have happened. So Mary Chris, Maya's sister, asks her children, when's the last time you saw mommy? And the 9-year-old discloses that the last time they saw Maya in the home was on January 7th, not January 8th, the day that Larry claims that she was in the kitchen making dinner. January 7th is the last day that this child saw their mother. And you could say, okay, what are the chances that a 9-year-old would give an accurate statement? But in a 9-year-old's life, their mother is the most important person to them. As a 9-year-old, I would have remembered the last time I saw my mom. Like, I would be sure between a 1 to 2 day difference. So, y'all, I'm going to just leave that there. When Maya disappeared, her Jeep was left at the home. However, her credit cards and her cell phone were all taken with her. There has been absolutely no activity on any of her accounts since she disappeared. Her phone has been going straight to voicemail consistently. So, yeah, when that happens, that gets people really worried that this person didn't leave of their own volition. Something happened to make them go away and to keep them away. And there is no person in the 21st century that's not going to use their credit cards and their cell phone. It's just not happening. So as the days and the time and the months go on, this becomes a more and more grim story. And at this point, I'm just hoping that the family can get closure. But we are about to jump into some of the updates and speculation that has come out since Maya's disappearance over the last few months. I would like to preface this part of the video with everyone is innocent until proven guilty. However, there are some behaviors on the part of Maya Millette that are extremely suspicious that need to be talked about. So with that being said, let's go ahead and continue. On January 8th, the day that Maya's family begins getting suspicious, they haven't heard from her. We're planning for the daughter's birthday party. Why hasn't she gotten back? The family is really starting to wonder. So in addition to calling Maya, they're calling Larry and they're calling the children. But everyone's cell phone was turned off. Maya's cell phone was going straight to voicemail January 8th. So was Larry's, and so was the cell phones of the 2 children that had cell phones, the older ones, as far as I'm aware. That one was a little unclear, but the sister said that in addition to Maya's, the other 3 people who had cell phones in the family weren't answering. They were all going to voicemail, so they were all turned off. For what reason would all of a family's cell phones be turned off? That's extremely suspicious, especially in a day and age where children are on their phones all day playing games, on the tablet all day playing games, watching, it's a very interactive world that we live in. So for an entire family to have all of their cell phones turned off the same exact day around the same time that someone goes missing is extremely suspicious and something that needs to be noted. Something that I can say about Larry is that in the initial stages of the investigation, he was cooperative. He communicated with the media. He was trying to get the story of Maya out there. He said, look, we need to focus on my wife's disappearance. But not long after that, good old Larry lawyered up, which not necessarily the biggest red flag because the husband is always the first suspect. So I'm not especially concerned that he got a lawyer. However, it is concerning that he has not participated in any of the search efforts for Maya. None. He has refused to do any media interviews, refused to communicate with the media. He has on a very limited basis, but he won't do verbal interviews anymore, which is extremely suspicious to me because if my wife is gone, I'm going to make every effort I can to spread the word to get her back here. I'm not going to rely on her family. No, she's my wife. She's the mother of my children. So yes, that's very suspicious. In addition to this, you guys, what did Larry do? Larry has completely cut off the family's contact with the children. So Mary Chris has very clearly said that Larry is now refusing to allow the children to spend time with or to speak to the family. That's not only heartbreaking for the family, but it just makes Larry look bad. I mean, come on now. You already know that you're a suspect. So why are you then going to go and refuse to let your children communicate with their family? That makes absolutely no sense. I can understand wanting to establish the sense of normalcy, wanting to try to keep a normal routine for the children, and in the wake of losing their mother, let's try to keep some sense of normal life. I get that. But communicating with your family is normal life. That's what those children need. I can't imagine. I have all this family that loves me and communicates with me, and now not only is my mother gone, but now I can't communicate with any of my other family. So that probably is making it even harder for the children, and it's just building a bigger and bigger case against Larry. There is an attorney that is a family friend of Maya's family who agreed to help investigate in this case, help out, see if he can contribute anything to discovering her whereabouts. So on January 11th, he decides to go and pay a visit to Larry, see if there's any information that he can get. But he's very methodical in what he's doing. So he's going there to see if there's any smells of cleaning products, if there's any smells of a decaying body, if there's any bullet holes maybe on or freshly repaired paint on the walls, if the carpets have been cleaned. He's going in there with a very clear objective. But to Larry, he thinks it's just like a check-in. But when this attorney, Mr. Little, gets there, what does he see? From the outside, all of the windows are open. It's middle of January. Highs are typically in the 70s in this area of California. Lows are typically in the 40s. All of the windows are open, and according to neighbors, had been open for days. Since Maya went missing, they were open the entire weekend. Mr. Little gets there on the 11th, notices that all the windows are open. Larry lets him inside. When he gets inside of the home, he sees that there are multiple fans on full blast. It's cold. He says it's pretty chilly inside the house. And of course, there's absolutely no smell whatsoever. So what reason would a person have to leave all of the windows in their home open and put all of the fans on full blast other than getting rid of some sort of smell? Now, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but it just seems extremely suspicious to me. And Mr. Little obviously pointed this out. He was like, why? This doesn't make any sense. So yes, extremely suspicious. In addition to this, as he's walking throughout the house, he doesn't notice any fresh paint on the walls. He doesn't notice that the carpets have been cleaned, which is good as far as Larry's sake goes. But when he gets up to the master bedroom, he does notice that there is a repair on the door right next to where the door handle is. It's about 10 inches long and about 6 inches high. And clearly there was a hole there. And he says it's been repaired with some sort of plaster. When he touches it, it's cold and damp. So, when you repair something, it's damp. You're not supposed to touch it for a little bit of time until it dries up. And he asks Larry, he said, this is a fresh repair that you got here. And Larry says, no, that's been there for a long time, a long, long time. And Mr. Little says, that's impossible because it's still wet. So suspicious that the hole was there to begin with. And then super sus that Larry then lied about how old the repair was when it clearly was a new one. let's keep going. Okay, so I told you guys how their marriage had kind of been on the rocks for some time leading up to this. Throughout 2020, so let's think about the 12 months of 2020 before she went missing in January. Larry's behavior, based off of cell phone records and the messages that investigators have been able to find, I'm not sure if this is specifically Mr. Little, Attorney Little, or if this is the police releasing this information, it's unclear. But nevertheless, there are screenshots, there are photos to prove it. Larry's behavior got extremely erratic, extremely strange, and it became worse and worse throughout the year. So it started bad, but then it just kept getting worse throughout 2020. This man went to Maya's job, demanded that all male coworkers be moved to different departments. He was 100% sure that she was having an affair with absolutely no evidence of this whatsoever. He had pictures on his phone of what looked like a shrine. It was like a picture of him and her together with candles around it, with like the wax dripping down. Extremely strange. Different biblical quotes about an adulterous woman and how her feet will lead to death. I'm not religious. I don't really know about biblical quotes, but there was some sus things on this man's cell phone. And you could tell that he was kind of grasping at straws and just kind of trying to hold on to what was left of their marriage. And this clearly pushed Maya away, because what did she do in January? She contacted a divorce lawyer. And she didn't just contact this divorce lawyer any day in January. Nope. She contacted this divorce lawyer on January 7th. None other than the day that she went missing. Now, if that don't make you scratch your head, I don't know what will. Larry very clearly wanted to hold on to this marriage. In addition to all of the other things that I've already told you about, he would desperately call all of Maya's siblings and their partners. So, and this is straight from the horse's mouth. This is straight from Mary Chris, her closest sister, that when Maya and Larry would have arguments or disagreements, he would not only just try to solve this issue with Maya, he would then go and call all of the siblings, all 6 of them, all together, 5 or 6, again, unclear, but I know that there's 5 or 6 of them. He would call all of them and their partners, basically trying to not only get advice, but try to figure out how to save his marriage, which, I don't know, a little weird. But not only would he just try to get advice and try to tell them to convince her to stay with him, he also would kind of just embellish the stories, make them out to be different than they actually were. And it's really sad, because when Mary Chris did an interview on Dr. Phil, she says that her and her siblings, now they feel like they should have spent more time helping Maya instead of helping Larry, because Larry would be calling them incessantly, just trying to work out the ins and outs of his marriage, when in reality, Maya was the one who actually needed the attention, because she was with this man who probably was borderline crazy based off of what has been found on his cell phone. Attorney Little did communicate with neighbors and people who live nearby and was able to get some doorbell camera footage, which is amazing, which is like exactly what we need. When I talked about the Orrin and Orson West case, it was that information that convinced a lot of people, that was the nail in the coffin, so to speak, for a lot of people about the stories not lining up that the parents were telling. And to me, this hasn't been talked about that much as I feel like it should be talked about. But neighbor doorbell cameras, according to Attorney Little, sorry, I'm getting worked up. Let me slow down. According to Attorney Little, Billy Little, he says that on the doorbell cameras of the neighbors, the night of the 7th, you don't see Maya leave at all, the 7th or the 8th. She never leaves the home in the time frame that she is believed to have gone missing. But what is seen? Larry, he gets in Maya's SUV, backs it into their garage. I'm assuming closes the garage door, because then he pulls back out of the garage. He's never seen getting back into the car to leave, but he does get back in and leaves in the SUV. This is the 7th, the night of the 7th. In addition to this, he is seen coming and going at strange hours of the morning, which strange, that's subjective. That can mean anything. In my mind, that's probably like after midnight, at a time where you most likely aren't going to be leaving your home, especially if you have 3 children. So, but not only that, y'all, not only that, About 10 p.m. on January 7th, it has been reported that there were gunshots heard. About 6 loud bangs that sounded exactly like gunshots were heard in the neighborhood of Larry and Maya Millette. And it is known that Larry does practice with firearms. So he had actually been seeking out like cleaner for, I guess, the residue that is left from when you fire gunshots. And Attorney Little was like, no, don't try to clean anything. You know, let's preserve your innocence as long as we can. It's going to look suspicious if you try to clean up this residue. But Mr. Little, he's just thinking, you know, let's not let him get rid of any evidence. But it already looks suspicious that he was freaking trying to clean up the remnants of shooting regardless. But we already know that he has admitted to the fact that he has been handling firearms. Now, don't know if that's in an effort to draw the attention away from the fact that he may or may not have harmed Maya in some sort of capacity with a firearm. We don't know. That's extreme speculation. But, you know, it all is kind of suspicious to me. It's all kind of suspicious to me. But in the house, there were no signs of bullet holes, like fresh paint, no patches that were repaired, aside from the hole that was on the door of the master bedroom. But yeah, the fact that Maya was never seen coming and going in out of the house, the 7th or the 8th, around that time frame, and the fact that Larry was in her SUV, backed it into the garage, and then pulled out. What were you putting in the SUV? You feel me? And then the fact that there were gunshots heard. It's just a lot of things that are piling on up against good old Larry here, in my opinion. A lot of things are working against him in this case. He's just making himself look real suspicious. The last thing that I want to talk about, you guys, is very unsettling. It's the last thing, but it's certainly not the least. If anything, it is the most important thing, is that a family member who wants to remain anonymous has reported that Maya disclosed to them, quote, "If anything happens to me, it was Larry." How unsettling is that? Like, leading up to this time, she knew that his antics were getting out of control and that he might get to the point where he might try to hurt her. It gives me chills. It's just very hard to think about. Maya Millette is 5'2", 109 pounds. She has tattoos on her shoulder. Her tattoos, let me make sure I'm specific, are music notes and a hummingbird. She, is tiny woman. She is very outgoing. She loves hiking and wine tasting and spending time with family and friends. But as far as her identifiable features go, you have seen the pictures throughout this video. If you have any information whatsoever that can lead to the discovery of Maya Millette's whereabouts, please contact Chula Vista Police. Their phone number is 619-691-5151. This woman has been missing for 3 months now with seemingly no end in sight. Extremely heartbreaking case for the family. Watching the interviews of her sister, very hard to do. But we are hoping that we can soon bring Maya home. Please give me any insight, any input that you have in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching today. You know what I'm going to say. If you made it this far, you are loyal. You really are. And I appreciate you. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Peace.